From the National Catholic Register, this is Register Radio, bringing light and clarity to the news and topics that affect your life.
Two mothers had the courage to choose life in the face of death. A social media post brought them together in a bond of friendship and prayer. Register contributor Nicole Leblanc tells of an inspiring story of faith and friendship in the face of suffering and loss. Then we learn why Catholic Answers AI priest got taken offline. Catholic Answers COO Jon Sorensen shares his perspective on the stumbling block his organization met when trying to evangelize through the latest technologies. I'm Jeanette DeMello, Executive Director of the National Catholic Register and Catholic News Agency, and I'm your host here on Register Radio. The Register recently ran a story. It's titled United in Prayer, Bound by Loss, how a social media post led to a powerful bond between two mothers. Those two mothers are Jessica Hanna and Nicole Leblanc, and they chose life in the face of death, and they became lasting friends, fast friends. Jessica Hanna, a Catholic mother of four and a pro-life advocate who chose to forgo cancer treatment for the sake of her unborn child. Tragically, she died on April 6th. Her family announced this, and her funeral was last week. Her story spread years ago on the Register and Church Pop through our social media pages, and it was there that another mother who was struggling with a frightening diagnosis heard her story and found comfort and a friend. That other mother is Nicole Leblanc, and Nicole found out at 10 weeks of her pregnancy that she had twins who were conjoined. Nicole graciously joins us today to share her story of faith and friendship. Nicole, thank you so much for being with us, and I just want to bless you and thank you for your courageous witness.
Thank you so much for having me. It is truly a blessing to share our story.
Yes, and that story, as I mentioned, is a story of you hearing that you were pregnant with twin girls, your first pregnancy, and at that same moment of recognizing that joy of knowing you had twins within you, you found out that their lives were threatened by the fact that they shared a heart and other organs, and so their experience in the womb was terminal. How did you experience that moment during your pregnancy, but also you were able to deliver these children and hold them, and so tell us of your experience.
Yeah, the experience was an absolute miracle, because when we got the diagnosis, the doctors said that these babies would most likely miscarry or not make it to term. Most of these conjoined babies do not, draw their first breath. They usually die in utero. So for these girls to have lived and grown and reached every single developmental benchmark, growing appropriately, the same weight and size and height, they were doing great despite the fact that they shared these organs, these vital organs. So it was something that was not expected. I mean, who was expecting that this is going to be their first pregnancy, and then having the diagnosis that these babies are going to die shortly after. So it was a lot of preparation because the doctor said that my life was also at risk if I didn't abort these babies. They said, because they're going to die, might as well have an abortion.
Right.
I firmly rejected that with my husband, and after I rejected that, that's when they said that, oh, well, your life could be at risk as well. And we said, absolutely not. We're just going to trust in God's plan for us and for these babies. And we made it all the way to 32 weeks. I had a classical C-section to deliver these girls, and they received their sacraments. We had that already. I had gone to confession the day before, went to church, received Holy Eucharist, receiving Jesus, and I had a priest in the operating room with us, as well as my mother and my husband and a photographer and all the surgeons. And I had Gregorian chants playing in the background. I really thought that, this could be my last thing that I see, the last things that I hear. I want it to be, priests, my family, and Gregorian chants, just something peaceful and something that the girls were familiar with, because I would play it when I was pregnant.
Yes.
So
That's
it was
beautiful.
so beautiful.
That was a
Yes.
beautiful story, you know, of the care that you took with your children in utero, to give them a quality of life, even then. And that's a beautiful, beautiful story, Nicole. And I know how challenging it must be to continually share that story with others, because it's still fresh, and those the pain and of that suffering doesn't go away easily. So what led you to share your story with the world through social media and the Register?
Yeah,
Thank you.
it was very vulnerable of me to share. This is my first time being pregnant, and I really wasn't going to share it with anyone until I was a lot farther along. But since this is a very different and special, we even wanted to wait to find out the gender, but we were, we had to know, we had to have these girls' names ready because there was a chance that they would miscarry the next week. So we had to have everything kind of prepared as much as possible. And I just felt I needed to share it for the prayers, for my own strength to keep on going, that I needed reassurance that this was the right thing that I was doing. And I had the whole pro-life community support me. They even did a mini, I didn't have a baby shower, but they put together a little Amazon registry list for me in the case that these girls would live more than a day.
Yes.
And it was beautiful for the community to come together.
Yes, and your girls' names are Marie Therese and Rachel Claire, and you have these little presences in heaven. I know that you remain close to them through the mystical body of Christ. You also remain close to a friend you met who was suffering in different ways, but similar ways, and that's Jessica Hanna, who I mentioned in the intro, died after a long struggle with cancer. How did you and Jessica meet, and what brought you together?
Yes, so I was a parishioner at St. Joseph Shrine, and I had heard of this other parishioner who had cancer, and there was a little group chat going on, and they shared her Instagram, so I quickly found her Instagram, and all of her posts were absolutely just beautiful and inspirational. And I saw that she was local. So I reached out, I sent her a little message, and I said, I'm introducing myself. Please pray for me. And she was always having these prayer requests, and people were just praying, even on social media. So I really wanted some of her prayer warriors to pray for me. And that was back in March. I think I sent her a first message. And in April, I had an interview with Church Pop, and they put out something on their Instagram page as well. And Jessica followed Church Pop. They also did a story on her, and she shared my story. And I messaged her again because she didn't respond to my first message. I said, Jessica, this is me, by the way. And immediately she responded. She's like, oh, my goodness, Nicole, we've been praying for you. And ever since then, we've just been connected and messaging each other, and I told her that I offered up my C-section recovery for her. I thought of her during my C-section and just offering up my sufferings for her cancer.
Yes, and so she left behind her husband and her 4 children. You attended her funeral. This is the first time you were ever able to actually see her. And you really shared a beautiful story on the Register. I want to point to that story for others to read. United in prayer, bound by loss, how a social media post led to a powerful bond between 2 mothers. And I guess as you said, you're vulnerable in sharing this story, and that vulnerability is very, very countercultural today. How have others responded to your story? What's the fruit of sharing this?
Yeah, I definitely see the fruit in that people have changed their minds on abortion just by simply reading my girl's story, and Jessica's as well, because she rejected abortion when she was pregnant and she had cancer. Both of us rejected abortion, and we see the fruit that people change their minds because they think that, life is sacred, life is precious. No matter if there's a disability in the womb, no matter, what the circumstances are, there is another life that is present, and we must respect that no matter what. So there's been a lot of those comments and a lot of negative comments as well, people saying that I was torturing my baby girls in the womb, and they were just living a life of suffering, when the doctors, I would ask them time and time again, that no, they were not in any pain, they were not suffering, because this is how they were forming, this is all that they knew.
Yes, and Nicole, I mean, as you said it, suffering is a part of life sometimes, and yet we can suffer with each other, and you found strength in that, in Jessica's support and the fact she was going through suffering too. There's a lot of empathy in that. That seems to me a wonderful message, is that yes, you were in pain, this emotional pain, and yet you were able to witness through that and live through it. What is your strength? We're very short on time, but where do you receive your strength?
Yes, I attribute my strength to the Holy Eucharist and the sacraments of the Catholic Church. Receiving, we go to confession every couple of weeks and going to Mass every single week. Receiving our Lord, praying the Rosary as a family together every single night has really helped with the grounding ourselves. And I ask the intercession of my little girls, my saints, Maria, Therese, and Rachel Claire, during Mass and at the end of every Rosary to pray for us sinners here below.
Amen. Amen. Well, Nicole, thank you so much. Please continue to share your story. When we come back, we talk to Catholic Answers Jon Sorensen about the demise of Father Justin, AI, and the lessons learned. This is Register Radio on EWTN. Stay tuned for more.
The Easter season is 7 weeks. And whether you have traditions to help you live this season to the fullest, or if you're seeking new ones, EWTN's award-winning National Catholic Register is here for you. Inform your mind and inspire your heart so you can better live out your faith each day. Save half off your subscription today. Get the National Catholic Register delivered to your home, office, or parish. Gain a deeper understanding of God's love and providence by reading the Register. To get 50% off your subscription, order online at ncregister.com/radio or call 800-421-3230 and mention code RADIO. The National Catholic Register. Read faithfully. Call or click today to save half off.
Let's return to Register Radio on EWTN.
Welcome back. I'm Jeanette DeMello, Executive Director of the National Catholic Register and Catholic News Agency, and your host here on Register Radio. I'm joined by my co-host, Matthew Bunson, who is EWTN News' Vice President and Editorial Director. This week, the Register ran a headline, Catholic Answers pulls plug on Father Justin, AI priest. That's a story that caused a stir among online communities of Catholics in the United States. Catholic Answers is no stranger to most of you. It's a lay-run apologetics and an evangelization apostolate based in California. And thanks to its team of apologists and 40 years in the media industry, Catholic media industry, the organization promotes itself as the largest database of answers about the belief and practices of the Catholic faith. And so a few days ago, Catholic Answers launched an AI app that used that large database, 40 years of answers, to launch this avatar that would answer questions from users about the Catholic faith. And that avatar that they used was a virtual priest named Father Justin. He received a great big unwelcome online and was quickly replaced with an avatar that's just Justin the Apologist. So today we have Jon Sorensen, who's the Chief Operating Officer for Catholic Answers, joining us to talk about the Father Justin kerfuffle and what's next for Apologetics AI at Catholic Answers. Jon, it's so good to have you. I know it's been a rather a week of ups and downs, right?
Indeed, yeah. Thank you so much for having me, too. It's an honor.
Yeah, so you were telling me that you've been at Catholic Answers a really long time, and really you can get through this, and it's just a moment of learning, really. And Father Justin just seemed like a likable enough virtual priest here. He wore the black clerics and a collar, and he was a middle-aged, bearded avatar. But the resistance was quick and really furious. let's first start with, what were your hopes for Father Justin?
I think originally we had just anticipated it not making really that much waves. And, we put out a press release like we do with a book or something else. And, we weren't expecting it to really garner as much attention as it did. I figured it'd probably be, people would be really curious at first. I definitely wasn't expecting the backlash. It didn't occur to me that giving it the likeness of a priest would be offensive to so many. But, I'm coming up on 17 years at Catholic Answers, and I learn something new every day. And we don't want to be the source of scandal for anyone. So, I took that to heart, and we've changed the avatar for now, and there may more changes may be coming. I'm just doing my best to listen to the constituents and even the people who are hostile to us, and just try to understand where they're coming from and make something that we're never going to please everybody, but I want to be as sensitive as I can to as many people as possible.
Yes, and John, what were some of the biggest concerns that were expressed by the online community? I mean, the kind of concerns that really made you say, hey, we got to take a step back. We got to change this.
I think mostly it was the backlash of it having the appearance of a priest. I mean, on our end, we thought, well, this is just a character playing a priest. It's an AI that we've given a character role to, and we did. I think we didn't do enough. Well, I know we didn't do enough to probably tell people that's how we're viewing it, but I don't know that would have really made that much of a difference with the reaction that it got anyway. But I think we could have done better there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of the problem that people were seeing was you ask the avatar, can I go to confession? And in some ways, sometimes the avatar would respond, no, I can't administer a sacrament. And other times it would actually go through something that sounded very similar to a confession. And I think that's the kind of place thing that leaves people questioning what's the usefulness of this. Now, obviously, that's maybe an attempt to trip it up, and yet we also used it for opportunities to find out. I asked it, what does the Catholic Church teach about love?
Right.
And it gave a beautiful pastoral answer to that question about love. What were the kind of questions you hoped people would use it for?
Just basic information about the Catholic faith. Nothing, we weren't expecting it to. Well, we weren't expecting anyone to use it to ask, spirit, the kind of questions that would require a spiritual director or your parish priest, like a real priest. I mean, at Catholic Answers, just for your listeners, make no mistake, we never intend to do away with human interaction. That is the most important aspect of what we do. And our view at Catholic Answers is that we produce this content, apologetics content. The hope is that, and it's really written for Catholics. And so the hope is that they would consume this information and then go out and they be the ones that evangelize. Father Justin, or any AI or even our website, I don't think that is what does the evangelization. I think it's real human interaction. And so we're just trying to dispense information the best we can. But there are things that we didn't anticipate. We make mistakes, and like I said, I like to learn from those. I think it makes me stronger. But also, when that's the funny thing about AI is, in order to fix it, someone's got to break it. And so, when as soon as we saw on Twitter that someone had got it to say the words of absolution, for example, we were on the phones with all the engineers saying, all right, well, this needs to be fixed immediately. But that's kind of how the process works with that. It's just the difficulty is that, for us to do it, there's only so much we can do, and then we release it to the public. The public's going to probably, there's probably more people out there that are going to try to break it than what we had, because we were using basically our internal people, engineers, and then released it to our some of our donors. We have a pretty big donor list, and so they, we sent it to all of them to kind of help us. But we were expecting there to be some issues at first, and we were hoping that if the reception had been more positive, that we could have used that critical feedback to improve the thing, but it's just causing too much scandal, so we decided to change it.
Well, but you moved very quickly to try to solve the problem. But at the same time, this is a philosophical question. Why is it for us as Catholics so important to recognize, embrace, and try to utilize new technologies, even if it's haltingly at first?
It's an interesting question that you ask. My view is that whenever new technology, is coming up, we could figure out how to use it, or we can just sit by and watch others do it. And somebody, I think, has to jump in there and try it. Maybe I'm sure I made colossal mistakes in this effort. I'm trying to be as humble as I can about it. It's I just didn't expect quite the response that we got, but I knew there would be some. I didn't see it being this quite as big deal as it was. But I think the technology, it's always it's always a good thing for us, I think, to at least investigate it and try to use it. This idea came across our desk, I think back in September, might have been a little bit before that. And we thought, well, this looks kind of interesting. Let's see where it goes. And so we worked not over the last 6 months, but completely. That's not the only project that we were focused on, but because we've always got a lot of these different projects going on. But this one took up some time. But we learned a lot about AI, and I don't know exactly how we can use AI at Catholic Answers. I don't think maybe this one might not have been or is probably not the best idea, but I think it was worth it for us to understand the idea. And like I told J.D. Flynn at the Pillar, I'm willing to take my lumps here. It's all good.
Right.
I probably deserve it.
Right. Well, I mean, it wasn't a bad day. They in the media world, you often say that negative news is news, and people are talking about Catholic Answers, and they were interested, I think, in our story that Matt McDonald wrote, Catholic Answers pulls plug on Father Justin AI priest. And of course, we should clarify the Justin the apologist is still there to use at CatholicAnswers.com, so people can check that out. But he said there were 1,000 people an hour were using the Father Justin app and on Wednesday afternoon, and traffic was up 77% were some of the numbers that your marketing team gave us. And so people were interested, and as you shared with me, John, you said that part of the idea for this was that you guys get these kind of questions constantly at Catholic Answers and aren't able to answer it.
Yeah, that's right. The old, so we've since done a redesign, but of Catholic.com. So if you look at, you could use Wayback Machine or something like that to look at. I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago, before we did the redesign, that older version of the website had a little button on it that said "Ask an Apologist," and you could submit a question, and that alone had I think it was like a 20,000 question backlog. We just could not keep up. And so we've always been, and so we just eliminated that for the longest time. And so this AI thing pops up, and we're like, oh, maybe we could try and use this to help some of these people. But I don't want to use it if it's not going to help,
Right. Well, some of the things that we've discussed as a team at the Register in terms of using AI and trying to understand it, and where we've kind of found some workable uses is those AIs that actually give you the citation, for where they gathered the data, where they gathered that information, so that we can always check. And it seems to me that I know the speakable version, that's what is so interesting about the Justin app, is that you can actually talk to this and it responds back to you like it's a person. But the fact that you guys have an incredible database and just delivering maybe the where it comes from and the citation is something to think about. So what is your team going to do now? How will you figure out the future of this AI?
Well, for now, our fake priest has been laicized.
Right.
But I'm going to wait through the weekend and see how that does. We're going to continue to work a little bit on prompt engineering. There's a substantive number of people who just don't like the avatar period. And some of their, I couldn't, I'm not qualified to really express their arguments exactly at this time, but the feeling that I got was that there's just an uncomfortability with the avatar in general. No matter what I make it, I could make it it was especially offensive to people because it was a priest, but I think even if I made it a college professor or something, there's still going to be a fair number of people who just aren't comfortable with that connection. They say, oh, it'd be fine if it was just a chat bot. And that's fine. Maybe that's what it ends up being. It's just I'm just going to kind of wait and see. And, hopefully people will be understanding that, we are not trying to scandalize people. We're just trying to figure out how we can better utilize emerging tech, because AI is not going away. You're seeing it incorporated into more and more things. And so we can sit by and not do anything with it, or we can try and, figure out how we can use it. And, I think the people who go first are probably going to get hit the hardest. And maybe AI never takes off in Catholic circles. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
I think it's going to take off. And just last week at the Vatican, there was a conference, AI Forum, Serving the Church's Mission. It was put on by the Pontifical Oriental Institute, and some of that material is available on YouTube. But it's certainly a conversation in how to use AI to evangelize, and I can understand why Catholic Answers with 40 years of experience answering questions would want to try to do that. So,
and thank you for not making it Bishop, Justin.
Precisely.
So, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine what would happen if I did that.
Right. But the quick adjustment is important, and we really do appreciate you, Jon, coming on and talking about this and the humility that you guys have shown. So thanks a lot.
Well, thank you, and God bless everyone at EWTN. You've always been really great friends to our apostolate, and we really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, remember, for more news, analysis, and commentary, check out the National Catholic Register online at ncregister.com. As always, thanks for joining us on Register Radio here on EWTN. And together with Matthew Bunson and today's producer, Michael McCall, I'm Jeanette DeMello, and I pray that until next week, God bless you.